So we got the story from the Washington Post, how the Biden administration let right-wing attacks derail its disinformation efforts. I don't understand why the Washington Post doesn't label this stuff opinion, and I don't understand why NewsGuard gives them a 100 out of 100 when they don't label opinion. In it, she says right here that disinformation has emerged as an urgent and important issue. Important to whom? That's your opinion. Hey, why don't you put an opinion on this? People see this stuff and they think it's facts. It is not. It is Taylor Lorenz's opinion on what happened. So anyway, in the article, she falsely claims it was right-wing disinformation that derailed it when Bill Maher on his show came out and said, this is ridiculous. These are not bright people. What are they doing? Bill Maher, one of the most prominent liberal voices, said this is bad, but it was all the right wing. Now, you know what I'm offended by? She doesn't give Bill Maher any of the credit, and she gives it all to you.
Yeah, she gives it to the
That's
Post-Millennial.
not fair.
She claims that the Post-Millennial was part of this campaign to take down the Disinformation Governance Board. And, you know, perhaps we were. Perhaps we should take some credit for that.
Was she knocking on your door?
Speech. No, she wasn't, actually. She's never reached out to us. She blocked me on Twitter. I found that out one time when I reached out to her for a comment about how she had doxed libs of TikTok for no apparent reason.
And she blocked me on Twitter. It was completely unreasonable. All I did was put up a billboard in Times Square saying that she doxed libs of TikTok, and then she blocked me.
And then
Seamus,
she
are you blocked by Taylor Lorenz
Let's
too?
see. Liz, I
that
guess
would
this
make
is going to be a
everybody-
litmus
I think you
test
should-
of whether
I
I'm
think
like
you
a
should check it
real
out.
concern. Are you blocked?
I'm blocked.
I don't know
Really?
why I'm
You are?
blocked,
Yeah, is that the
Why did she
threshold?
block you?
Hold on.
I think
what's-
she might have blocked people by like if you
Like a blocked
follow,
list.
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that.
well, I'm on a lot of those. What's interesting, though, is that she's claiming that we dug up Nina Jankowicz's past social media posts and published articles to generate controversy. It was not to generate controversy. It was to expose exactly who was the minister of truth, who was running this bogus organization, who was running this operation, to expose who it was that the Biden administration thought it was worthwhile to put in charge of something this serious, someone who had spread disinformation themselves, someone who had, you know, essentially called for censorship, and someone who clearly should not be trusted to give accurate or truthful information.
It is extremely ironic because Jack Posobiec just found Jankowicz's early tweets and released them. And
He took a
it's
look at
ironic
it, yeah.
because that's the first thing Taylor Lorenz does when she tries to make a hit piece on somebody. They just
This
look
is-
up their old tweets. So
This is what Glenn Greenwald pointed out. He said, according to Taylor Lorenz, you are not allowed to dig into the private information of high-ranking Homeland Security officials, but it's okay to go after an anonymous person who has bad ideas.
No, exactly. Like, when did the role of journalist become being tattletales on your average person? Like, someone on Twitter said something
Well,
that
I'll
I
tell
don't
you
like. I need to
exactly
expose
when
them.
that happened.
almost always, hasn't it?
That happened.
But like the average person,
You know
I don't know.
how
It happened with me too. It happened with me too, because that was the first time when it was acceptable to just start telling tales out of school about somebody's bad date.
I view journalists like mini-me. Like, Dr. Evil is the government, and mini-me is just like, you know.
Well, I mean, you made this point that that's always what they've done. I agree with you that it's always been very much corrupt. I mean, the mainstream media in this country has been a disaster for a lot longer than people realize. But it's the going after like everyday average random people thing, which is very strange and
Yeah,
new.
there are creepy weirdo authoritarians running most of our institutions. When you look at the Supreme Court leaks, like these crackpots, these people are in everything. They have no regard for tradition or culture. And I'm not saying all tradition and all culture. I'm saying they have no regard for community. They have no regard for any kind of norms, respect. They have, I imagine, they have their moral compass, their moral
values?
foundation. Sorry,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
zero, nothing. They don't even have care and fairness. It's just literally nothing. They're just confused, angry people.
Well,
That's
they
it.
think that they're doing the right thing.
I don't believe that.
You don't think that they think they're doing the right thing? I think they think that they're doing the appropriate thing by leaking this information.
I think they're NPCs.
You think Taylor Lorenz is an NPC?
No. I think Taylor Lorenz is the perfect example of a modern shock jock. I think, based on conversations I've had with people in the industry, it seems to me, it's my opinion, that she was hired specifically to generate outrage and controversy by writing shock content that is bordering on defamation. The goal being, why are we talking about the Washington Post now? because she writes something that's a clear opinion, not labeled as opinion, knowing it'll anger a lot of people. She accuses only the right, ignores Bill Maher, which will clearly, the right will be like, hey, you can't say, like, that's not true and you're wrong. And then shows will produce segments where we'll talk about her. It will generate earned press, and that's what they want. So I've had some conversations. I'm trying to get better confirmation, but my understanding is that the people at the Post are well aware of it, that there are veteran journalists who throw up in their mouths a little bit every day because they're sickened by what the paper has become, because they know she was brought on specifically as a shock jock, as a culture warrior shock jock to generate scandal, and that's her thing.
Well, and she does, and then she goes on TV and cries about it when people don't like what she writes.
For better or worse, I think reporting's always had this issue where people have been activists, but the more I get involved and the more I pay attention to the news, the more I realize that it's almost everybody that's an activist reporter nowadays. It's hard to find anybody who isn't really just trying to back up their priors. This is extremely true with Taylor Lorenz, but she's not the only one.